All Stars 5 cast is official, and they did what? Some big surprises, some head scratchers as always, a couple of monumental returns to the franchise, and a 2-to-1 female to male split. So much to discuss. Let's break it all down. All Stars 5 instant cast reactions coming up right now. What up, my fellow challenge lovers? Welcome to The Challenge Historian, where we dive deep into all things MTV's The Challenge, past, present, or future. If it's happening in the Challenge universe, we are here to document it. I am your host and dedicated Challenge Historian, Jacob Hollabaugh. Thank you so very much for being here with me today for our third podcast in 24 hours, because last weekend we had the big news. All Stars 5 cast made, we think, official. They left last Saturday. There were a couple of changes, and as of the last 3 days now, really 72 hours, it seems like it's been set in stone. A theme has been quote unquote confirmed. So I feel solid enough that we have to get our instant reactions, because there's a lot of them out into the world. Obviously, things still could change. A few people could be listed as alternates or not. But it seems we've got 24 names. It kind of makes sense as a group. And again, it's been 72 hours with any real updates to that. It seems as if this is it. We're going to be here to break it all down. Before we dive into All Stars 5 cast reactions, quick reminders. All Stars 4 coverage continues every Wednesday. Episode 9 was a fantastic one. That recap went up last night or yesterday during the morning. I don't know, sometime yesterday. Those will keep coming on Wednesdays for 3 more weeks. The rest of All Stars 4. Survivor 46 coverage is complete. Survivor fans, go check out Tony and I's thoughts on the finale and the full season awards. And of course, requisite spoiler warning and reminder for this and really all Challenge Historian podcasts. I am all for casting spoilers, hence the podcast episode you're listening to right now. I do not mess with, however, elimination or result spoilers. So if you want to hear any of that, go somewhere else. I don't know any of it. I don't know any of it for All Stars 4. I don't know any of it for season 40. And if any of it exists for All Stars 5, I don't know any of that either. And I would like to keep it that way. So please help me and those watching or listening keep it that way, and don't post any comments on this YouTube video. Don't, on my Instagram page, any comments. Don't DM me anything results, spoilers related. It will be removed, and it will also just make me really, really sad. So this is cast spoilers only. That's all we do around here. So you're in the right place. If you too like to hear the cast, like to hear the possible theme, but don't want to know anything about what actually happens on the season, agenda for this podcast is going to be as follows. I'm going to read the entire cast list just once through, all the way through, where they're from, that kind of thing. Then I'm going to go through the list and talk about the most notable and the standouts to me. Everyone will get one sentence comment, but 4 or 5, the big standout ones, the ones we've got real reactions to, we will of course react to appropriately. And then after we go through the cast, I'm going to discuss the fact that it is 2-to-1 female to male, what that means, what I think about that, and the potential theme that is assumed, the teams that are potentially assumed to be, and then finish it up with a couple, baseless predictions, wishes, that sort of thing. We'll try to get in and out of here. Again, instant reaction to this cast, which high-level overview I do really, really like. There's a lot to discuss. Thank you for being here. Make sure to subscribe, follow, rate, review, all that good stuff. Let's dive in. All Stars 5 instant cast reaction. Being filmed in Vietnam, All Stars 5, that is, same as season 40, but supposedly a different house than what we will see on season 40, but in all likelihood, a lot of the similar locations. I'm guessing they didn't just love Vietnam so much that they're like, let's try out a completely different place within Vietnam. I'm guessing we're going to see a lot of familiar spots once we've seen season 40 going into All Stars 5, as far as daily locations, potentially the same elimination arena, all of that good stuff. I am all for making life easier on production so they can focus on making the games and the eliminations themselves. All really, really cool. And I do appreciate getting to see a different house, although who knows, maybe the house for season 40 is amazing. And I'd be like, why don't we just stay there? So Vietnam, TJ Lavin is there, of course. this man just never gets to go home to Las Vegas, I guess, at this point. But yeah, he's a busy, busy guy, globe-trotting the world with all versions of this franchise. And glad, as always, to have TJ there. The cast is as follows. Again, I'm going to read it one time quickly all the way through, just given their basic how many seasons they've done, where we last saw them, and then we will go back to the list and hit it and actually give commentary on the cast. So the first time through, just who they are, where they're from. We've got in alphabetical order here as well. Adam Larson, Real World: The Quest, 3 flagship seasons, 1 All-Stars, last seen currently on our television screens for All-Stars 4. Amber Borzatra, Big Brother 16, 3 flagship, 1 World Championships, which is where she was last seen. Anissa is back. Of course, it's not a challenge season if Anissa isn't back. Real World Chicago, 17 flagship seasons, 1 All-Stars, last seen on season 40. I will say that for a few people here, obviously, again, I don't know anything that happens on season 40. We have not seen any of season 40, but by the time we watch All-Stars 5, we will have seen season 40. And so I'm going to just say last seen on there, if that will be the case for them. Ashley Kelsey, Real World San Diego, 2 flagship seasons, last seen on Invasion of the Champions, because I do not acknowledge the other original spin-off series of this program. Ashley Mitchell, one of the biggest names to return, Real World Explosion, 9 flagship seasons, last seen getting kicked off of Spies, Lies, or Allies for potentially unknown reasons. Beth, Real World LA, 7 flagship, 2 All-Stars, last seen on All-Stars 3. We do have a couple OGs in here, Beth being the first real one, or I guess Adam was, but obviously big OG with Beth for sure. Corey Lay, one of the most surprising of this list. I got to stop the commentary. I said I would come back to that part. 12 Dates of Christmas, 2 flagship seasons, last seen on B-Fang. Battle for a New Champion. Devon Rogers, Big Brother 17, 2 flagship seasons, last seen on War of the Worlds. Devin Walker, Are You the One 3, 8 flagship, last seen on upcoming season 40. Fessy Shafat, Big Brother 24, flagship season 1 USA season, which is where he was last seen on USA 2. Frank Sweeney, the big comeback, Real World San Diego, 3 flagship seasons, last seen season 25. Free Agents. John A. is back, the Queen of All-Stars, of course. Real World Cancun, 6 flagship, 3 All-Stars, 1 World Championship, 1 USA, last seen on the upcoming season 40. Katie Cooley, Real World Quest, 10 flagship, 2 All-Stars, last seen on the upcoming season 40. Kellyanne Judd, Real World Sydney, 5 flagship, 2 All-Stars, 1 World Championships, last seen on season 40. Leroy, Real World Vegas, 13 flagship, 1 All-Stars. We're currently watching on All-Stars 4, and will be last seen on season 40. Mel Reeves, X on the Beach UK, 4 flagship, Battle of the New Champion, last time we saw her. Nani is back, Real World Las Vegas, 12 flagship, last seen on Ride or Dies. Nicole Zanata, last seen right now on All-Stars 4. Real World Skeletons, originally 3 flagship, 1 All-Star season. Sam McGinn, Real World San Diego, 1 single flagship season where she and her battle of the seasons, San Diego compadres, got the win. Shane Landrum, Road Rules Campus Crawl, 7 flagship, last seen on Final Reckoning. Steve Menke, Real World, the Road Rules. Geez, I cannot do Real World and Road Rules today. Road Rules, The Quest, 1 flagship, 2 All-Stars, last seen right now in All-Stars 4. He will be the first ever 3-to-1 All-Stars to flagship ratio that we've ever seen. Sylvia Elsrode, Real World Skeletons, 3 flagship, 1 All-Stars, last seen on All-Stars 3. Big T, last seen Battle for a New Champion, 5 flagship seasons to her name. Veronica Portillo, Road Rule Semester C, 12 flagship, 2 All-Stars, last seen currently on All-Stars 4. That is your cast. That is your 24-person cast. So let's go back. I know I started to add the commentary in there already. My apologies, but let's go back through the list. Most people here, we will just give a quick sentence, a few obvious ones, the ones I already kind of started talking about. We will talk more in depth about, because they are obviously the biggest ones, have the biggest talking points and opinions and reactions to get to. So let's start back at the top of that list. Adam Larson, I've loved his return on All-Stars 4. I'm happy to see him continue. Simple, easy to go. Amber B, which is just Amber a long time ago, but it's still, I don't know, it's almost, I've gone back and forth on, like, you don't need to be Amber B after the one season where there was 2 Ambers and you were both rookies, and so it made sense. But now I just feel like she's Amber B because it just, like, sounds cool to say. So I don't know. Amber's back. Thrilled she is back. Chauncey, thanks for solo parenting for a couple of weeks here while she's away. probably kicking butt in a challenge house. I'm very excited to see Amber in this setting, often alienated. Amber, seemingly for no reason. We've talked about it every time she's been on a season. She seems to end up being kind of one of the outcasts in the house, but we never get any reason why. Just, there's been a handful of people like this in challenge history of like, we're never seeing anything that would make us think everyone in the house doesn't like or doesn't vibe with or doesn't want to hang out with this person who seems amazing and lovely and wonderful. And so I am thrilled to see Amber in a house with mostly people she's never been in a house with. There's a couple here, and those people are ones that maybe would be, like a Devin and Anissa. I don't see any ill will necessarily there or anything. So I'm thrilled to see Amber on the show and in this new environment. I will talk a lot about in the coming up here. Obviously, she is newer to the show, is a big jump as far as when she debuted and now being in the All-Stars world. We'll talk a lot about that with a couple cast members coming up. Anissa, I'm over it. I'm tired. I'm over it to the point of I'm also tired of saying the qualifiers that I will still say here. I like her as a person a lot. I greatly enjoyed her in her original heyday, which was a long time ago. But goddamn, you got to hang it up at some point. And the fandom was ready for you to hang it up a while ago now. And that we got season 40 and then this one, and it just seems never ending. And I get it. There is a difference to me in a Bananas or a CT doing 20 plus seasons, seeming to be willing to never stop. They are regarded as two of the best ever, two of the biggest storylines ever. Anissa was an incredible role-playing cast member, and I'd say that complimentary. Not, there most seasons, there's 3 to 4 people who are the quote-unquote stars of the season, and it's actually better to then have not a bunch of big name, want to be the star, but don't get to be this season type of people. It's better to have the great role-playing cast members that can be in alliances, that are still good at the show, good at the game, all of that. And Anissa was one of those. But when it's that versus one of the best ever, I get a little bored of watching CT and Bananas. And so I definitely got bored of watching Anissa at some point here. That was too much on her. Moving on. Ashley Kelsey. San Diego makes the big return. 3 of the 4 San Diego champions from Battle of the Seasons 2, season 23 are, of course, back here, and all 3 of them are pretty big returns, starting with Ashley. Thrilled, loved her on San Diego, loved her on Battle of the Seasons, was always interesting to me that her only single callback she ever got after winning on her rookie season with, the 4 of them winning together was when they needed one more female winner for Invasion and they just didn't have that many to call. And so she got brought in for that. I thought she deserved a lot more than that. I am glad to see her here. Then the big one, the one we're really here to talk about, the one that got the fandom kind of lit on fire, which is Ashley Millionaire Mitchell is back. Thank goodness. Praise the Lord. This is what we're here for. The cast gets an A almost by default just because they brought Millionaire Mitchell back into our lives. They never should have ditched her in the first place. Our prayers have been answered. It was always, she famously at this point left Spies, Lies, and Allies without us seeing what the reason was, without us being told a reason. Just suddenly, TJ was announcing at a daily that she was no longer in the cast. She had broken some rule. It is said, the rumors, at this point, we're far enough away. Does it really even matter? Said something to maybe a cast member that, as far as what is the consensus rumor out there is, mean and rude and probably shouldn't be said, but isn't like you're banned from the show given the things that have actually gotten people banned from the show before. So it was always strange that they weren't calling her. Obviously, there's a large portion of the fan community that, Ashley is one of, if not their favorite, is beloved for sure, and is an absolute kick-ass television cast member and competitor in this game. She brings it all. We needed her in this show, and so, getting her here on All Stars, I will absolutely take it. It's the best. She's for sure favorite to compete for the title on this season, is one of the best, one of the most decorated coming into, and just, I would assume, still in one of the best positions coming into this game to potentially get a W. We got Beth, always going to find a way to be interesting or infuriating, one of the two. Either way, we will be talking about her. And so, a little bit of mixed feelings. Now, the third time we will be seeing her in an All-Stars format, like maybe, we've already seen what we needed to see from an All-Stars perspective with Beth, but mixed feelings as they may be, it's more positive than negative. So glad to see it. Corey Lay, then. I'll use Corey to discuss the one big thing here. Is definitely the, one of the biggest gripe, I would say, of the fan community so far, having seen this list, is like, what the hell? How is someone who debuted on season 37, Spies, Lies, and Allies, and has done 2 flagship seasons, and been hit or miss, whether some are in my camp of like absolutely love Corey and think he's an absolute star in the making here in this franchise. Others don't feel that way. I totally understand if you're like, how is this guy in All-Stars? This is not what All-Stars is supposed to be. He just started on the flagship recently. And I don't know actually how old Corey is in real life, but just in challenge terms, is the cast average age has gotten much older, even on the flagship. He's still by far one of the young people, quote unquote, young people. Again, I have no idea if he's 25 or 35, but yeah, it is strange. It is weird. It is kind of this cast with Corey, Amber, and Mel and Big T, who we'll talk about, although Mel and Big T were a little earlier, than Amber and Corey, certainly, who debuted on 36 and 37. It's the last level of bastardization of the franchise of All-Stars being what All-Stars was on season 1 and 2. And, seasons 3 and 4, we introduced a lot more folks from the kind of 20, 25 to 30 season era. And then now this is like the last level of like, basically this opens the gate for anyone to be on All-Stars from any season. I mean, again, Corey debuted on season 37. So, it's as late as we pretty much got. There was no rookies on season 39, and there was only a couple on season 38. So like this opens the door, like if Horacio or Doris or Olivia or Kyland or whoever, like if they put on All-Star 6, it won't be a shock. They have opened the door here. So yes, that's a bummer. I would love for All-Stars to have stayed what All-Stars 1 and 2 was for 5 or 6 seasons, but it didn't. So if it was going to happen, am I good with Corey being one of the ones let in? Absolutely. Because again, I love Corey. I think he brings so much to the show. I think he's a star in the making for this franchise. I understand that the fandom is pretty split on that, and there's a lot of people that are bored by it, and a little bit of some people that are kind of like completely out on him. So I get this is going to be the most polarizing of the picks, along with an Amber, a Big T, and a Melissa, but those 3 I think have a higher Q rating maybe across fandom than Corey does, and so I get it, but I love it. Davon, definition of a reality TV queen, all-star. Fantastic casting, no notes. I could keep saying over and over throughout this cast and throughout the format talk, but I will try not to say I would love to see it on the flagship, but like this kind of almost is the flagship now. We'll come back to that thought later. So I'm not going to get too caught up on like they should be over here, not here. Davon should be on our television screens as much as possible. And so, again, definition of an all-star. Davon, thrilled to have her. Devin, kind of crazy that Devin is actually like bordering on OG enough that he makes sense of All-Stars. Like I didn't name him in that group with Corey and Amber and Big T and Melissa. Cause like the dude debuted on season 27 out of 40, and he's been on 8 seasons of the flagship. Like it's not an OG like the early days OGs, but like he fits in just as much as, a bunch of the people we've had on All-Stars 3 and 4. And I think he might be the defining male star of his era of the show. So I'm here for it. And the more professional television makers, the better, which I think is the new kind of standard for All-Stars of like, are you good television? Which honestly, for a TV show, it kind of makes sense that would be where they go with casting of like, we don't care when you debuted, what shows you've been on, whatever. Are you good at making television? Because that's the new standard to be on All-Stars. And Devin, of course, is a professional television maker. So I love it. Fessy, I lied earlier. This is the most polarizing choice probably on this list. I would assume. I know a lot of people hate him. I know a ton of people are, whether you hate him in the game or not, are going to hate that he is here in an All-Stars house, and I get it. same. Not going to rehash, but Corey, Mel, Big T, Amber, we get it. We discussed it then. It's it's the final level of bastardization of All Stars. If Fessy is coming into the All Stars world, but my feelings on Fessy. So again, if they were going to do it, they couldn't have picked better in my book. The fact that they went Amber, Corey, and Fessy as the three super recent members of the challenge cast who then be brought into All Stars, I'm thrilled. And you can all think what you want, but he's one of the best cast members we've gotten in the last 5 to 6, the newest era of challenge flagship seasons. You can argue with me all you want. You're wrong. I'm right. He's fantastic for the show and will be discussed throughout the season, I'm sure, because he always has storylines. Now, if you were all upset about hearing me talk about Fessy and thinking it's great for the show, you can calm back down and you can start having fun again, because I think we can all agree on this next one. I think Ashley Mitchell is the biggest name, most exciting name on this cast list, just because her stature in the world of the challenge, and that, the way she seemingly had been shadow banned from the show to some degree, and how much we all disagreed with that. And so having her back, she's probably the biggest reaction anyone is going to get out of this cast. But if it wasn't her, then it would be Frank Sweeney getting the biggest reaction out of me, and I would assume the entire fandom, because it is unbelievable that Frank is going to be back in a challenge house. He with Ashley is the second reason this cast gets an A by default. I can't believe Frank is back. I really, really can't. He is an absolute legend in 3 short seasons. Obviously, 1 as a rookie, 2nd in the finals with partner Bananas and Rivals 2, and then, medical leaves, free agents, and famously says, on the way out, these guys are all lucky because I was winning this. And he might not have been wrong, because Frank was fantastic as a competitor on this show and was somehow even better as a cast member, TV character in this show. I never thought we would see him again. He was one of the early ones to go on my fave, then Grantland, now Ringer podcast with Bill Simmons and Juliet Littman. He did an interview with Juliet where he openly was like, I'm definitely violating every part of my NDA. I'm definitely going to get in trouble for this. Was just the best. I never thought we'd see him again. He looks great. He seems like he's in shape. I can't imagine he suddenly would be boring. It's an A++++ from me. John A., Queen of All Stars, should probably be on every All Star season, really. So pumped as always. Katie Cooley. Katie always brings something upon watching, season 40 and then All Stars back to back. We'll see if she can keep delivering on that repetition at this point, but I'm always happy to see her. Happy to have a few true OGs in the mix, which she is. So lovely to see Katie. Kellyanne, it's better late than never that they came back to realizing what an absolute star Kellyanne is, and that she's as good of a cast member as they've ever got. She's in top tier of cast members we've ever had. And it seemed like either she just stopped wanting to do it or they stopped calling her at some point and they had not fully realized that. And now, thankfully, with an All-Stars 2 All-Stars appearances, World Championships, then she'll be on 40. Now she's going to be here. They've realized oh my gosh, she's still willing to do this, and she's still absolutely amazing and needed on the show. Thank goodness Kellyanne is there. Then there's Leroy, and the retirement jokes are just so deserved. I'm Leroy, as always, highest Q rating in the history of the show, beloved. Absolutely beloved. We'll see if he can pull off the first win ever on All Stars 4 here. Things are looking good, even with Cam going home yesterday's episode. Sorry if you haven't watched All Stars 4 yet. But yeah, that happens on the episode that aired yesterday. My bad if you haven't watched yet. But Leroy still got his star, still in a good position. We'll see if he pulls it off there. But come on. He retired. He full on said, I'm retired after Double Agents. And he made it a couple of seasons. And then it was okay, we're going to do the comeback on All Stars. Cool. But now All Stars 4, season 40, All Stars 5, back to back to back. Shout out to you, Cam. Love Cam for solo parenting for this long to let Leroy get back on this show so much. Yeah, she's the queen. Leroy, go out there and get you some W's, get you some money, bring it back for the family. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I want Leroy on any season possible. The jokes write themselves, the retirement jokes. So then we've got Mel, fits into that 2 new camp, as we've said a couple times, but also like her and Big T did debut like in the early 30s, so it's a little different than Amber, Fessy, and Corey, of course. But also Mel is just so clearly all-star caliber cast member, so I'm good with this. She brings the drama, she brings the story every single time. Love, love, love it. Thanks for having her. Nani, no Casey. I'm still very much for. Casey, no Nani. I'm one of the few people that is like willing to give it a try. Nani, no Casey, though, very much for, even if it's, obviously still a much more subdued, game-focused Nani than her younger self, which is fantastic for her and her livelihood. Not great for us and our entertainment, one of the all-time entertainers on this show, Nani in the early days. But, I would love to see her get that elusive win. So seeing her come back, especially, not being on season 40 when she definitely is an era defining character and cast member. Love to see her here. Nicole Zanata. I can't be the one who says villains are necessary. I can't be that guy, the villain, the fan of the villains guy, and not be happy that we've got a certified villain being immediately brought back into the All-Stars house. We can't say she hasn't provided talking material on All Stars 4, because she certainly has, even if most of it is me saying how much I don't like her and seems like she maybe has a lot to figure out towards being a good human and significant other in real life outside of the show. But yeah, I just can't be the villain's a great guy and not be like, yeah, they cast a villain. So that good job. No Laurel Akara. No, really not a lot of friends to be found on this cast for her. So I'm kind of intrigued by that. And certainly that over like, if this would have been, hey, Laurel and Nicole are in the house again, like, no, that's first off, not okay that you're doing that to Laurel or to either of them, but also not interested in seeing that continue. So her, no Cara, no Laurel, no real friends. I'm intrigued. Then the third member of the Real World San Diego comeback crew, Sam. One single season, one win on Battle of the Seasons. Obviously, the big story of that entire season was how poorly Frank and Zach treated Sam. It was thrilling to see Sam go on Zach's podcast and them kind of bury the hatchet and get to hear him actually apologize, and them kind of just rehash and bury some of that trauma of the past, because it was as clearly traumatic as anything we've really watched on this show. And it was repeated throughout the entire season, completely treated like shit, even though she was as valuable, if not the most valuable member of their team all the way through. That team was just so stacked, though, in all honesty. Like, looking back, like Sam, Ashley, Frank, and Zach, all four awesome athletes. There's enough brain cells to go around on the female side of that. And I actually think Frank is really smart too. So it's really just Zach that was like, can you guys do the puzzles? But that team was so dang good, and it was just so toxic and so nasty to watch. But like, there was a reason they won through all the nastiness and toxicity. And so I loved seeing her back. I again loved seeing her and Zach discuss on the podcast and kind of bury some of that hatchet, and now see her and Frank is, and with Ashley there too, get to discuss, hopefully heal wounds from Battle of the Seasons and kind of close that story arc and kind of have a closure to that story arc. I think that's really, really great. Thrilled to see Sam coming back into the world of the challenge. Shane talked some mad shit about production and casting and stuff on Instagram over the last couple seasons or last couple casts to be revealed. And it seems like casting didn't care, which I thought that's the type of stuff that casting would be like, maybe cross him off the list. And I am so thankful they didn't. I think it's fantastic that, maybe they're fine with, not fine with, I'm sure they would have wished that they wouldn't, but that it isn't going to get you removed from casting calls to talk your truth, speak your mind, share your opinions loudly and proudly on social media and elsewhere. So Shane has been, great every season he's ever been on. He's absolutely an all-star. No notes. Glad he's back. Steve Menke, probably the most head-scratching of all the picks. If you want to say it is the Corey, Amber, Fessy trio of like, they're so new. What do you mean they're an all-stars? That might be the most head-scratching thing, but Otherwise, Steve is probably the most head scratching of the picks. I say this as a big Steve fan, but if I put my bias aside, like, yeah, the guy did one season of the show. He wasn't super memorable necessarily on the gauntlet, and didn't make it super far. So it was a borderline head scratching when he got cast on All Stars in the first place. And now he's going to be on 3 of the 5 seasons of All Stars. It's amazing for him. Great job getting the calls, answering the calls, going fantastic. Again, I really like Steve and I'm enjoying it. And I think he's one of those proving to be for the second time. And I bet he will prove to be for the third time on this one, a great, like I was saying about Anissa earlier, like not everyone on the season can be the stars. Like you need the glue players, the role playing cast members, everything. And I think he's great at that. So I'm all for it, but I totally understand if people look at this list, they're like, wait, what? Unless something crazy happens with him the last couple episodes of All Stars 4, or maybe he wins, I don't know. I would get if everyone looked at this list and was like, why is he doing a third All Stars after he did half of a flagship season way back when? I would get it. Sylvia, glad All Stars 3 helped. Sylvia was one of the biggest winners of All Stars 3, even though she didn't win the season, because we all collectively came together and were like, hey, we never fully recognized and realized how much of a star Sylvia was, and we should have. So we kind of retroactively went back, and some did. I know you're out there, and you helped get the rest of us on board during All Stars 3 of like, go back and look. This woman has served amazingly on this show in her 3 flagship seasons. So she fits many of the quote unquote younger people that I would love to see on flagship, but whatever. All Stars is fine. I love it. Bring Sylvia on any season. Big T, same thing. I don't need to regurgitate. Everything I said about Melissa is the same. Basically, everything I said about Amber and Corey and Fessy even is the same. Big T is an icon of the challenge. I love her. I will watch her anywhere in. I also think the thing about a Big T is like this, an All-Stars house is kind of more her speed, where it's a little more, are you good at television and are you good at the kind of silly carnival aspects of the game and the competition, and not so much like, hey, this is an endurance CrossFit sport. How interested in that are you? And she's like, I'll do it, but like, it's not my jam. So I love getting to see Big T in this element. And then finally, Veronica. I'm never going to say no to Veronica, the original face of the franchise, Mount Rushmore figure. But after getting to see the Mean Girls trio back together in All Stars 3, I can't say that I'm like dying for more content, Veronica content, as far as like competing on the show. And so, yeah, we'll see. But always, I'm never going to say no to Veronica. Again, Mount Rushmore, original face of the franchise. Love her. Now, here's where we got to quickly touch on the people that are not there, but were at one time said to possibly be there. There were 4 names that were added to the list at one point and then removed from the list within the last couple of days. And they're honestly all were big blows because I was pumped for all of them. CT, Dario, Jen, and Jay. That is Jen, Real World Denver, Jen, and Jay Mitchell, currently seen on All Stars 4. CT being teased and taken away is a huge blow. Always is, but, whatever. I get it. Dario would have been an incredible choice, and I was sad to see him removed. I was kind of pumped to see Dario back on the show. And then I like the Jay comeback, so I was down for it to continue. But the one that truly hurts here is Jen. She was one of the first names reported. There was like 4 or 5 names that started this whole list, and Jen was one of them, and I freaked out. I was ecstatic, as were a lot of people. I think I have talked multiple times at some point during this podcast of like one of my number 1 picks to be brought back. I never thought it would happen. I think if they do deny anyone because of like political views or things they've ever, said on Instagram or whatever, that she might be in the group that they say no to for those reasons, which I don't agree with those being reasons to not be cast on a show. Not saying anything other than that, but she was just so good on the show back in the day. And she was one of my all-time favorites. One of my original, admittedly, like crushes of, she was in the era I've said before, my Real World era where Real World really, really mattered to me was Key West or Austin, Key West, Denver, Philly, that little run, which I don't think I just got that order correct, but those 4 seasons were in order. Was Philly, Philly, Austin, Key West, Denver. Was that how it went? I think that's how it went. One way or the other. Those 4 right in a row. I was all in. I was right like high school age. Like, this is the coolest thing ever. These kind of seem like my peers. They're a couple years older than me. And I definitely had a huge crush on Jen. But then she was also just flat out amazing as a cast member on this show every season she was on. And she also now is like huge in CrossFit and stuff. So where she wasn't even like, she competed her ass off before, but she wasn't out there like, training for this show. Now she's like a legit, like she trains every day. A little bit of the Cara Maria, got into CrossFit a little bit later in life, kind of glow up sort of situation. Would have been unbelievable. I'm just heartbroken to have seen her name, to have got so excited, and then to see it pulled away. But it is what it is. The cast, again, 24 people deep, is mostly really, really great. Only a couple head scratchers, only a couple I kind of disagree with. One more time: Adam, Amber, Anissa, Ashley K from San Diego, Ashley Mitchell, Beth, Corey Lay, Devon, Devin, Fessy, Frank Sweeney from San Diego, John A., Katie, Kellyanne, Leroy, Melissa, Nani, Nicole Zanata, Sam McGinn, San Diego, Shane, Steve, Sylvia, Big T, and Veronica. That's your cast. Now let's talk format and the fact that there's twice as many women as there are men. So it's 2-1 women to men, which I'm kind of into it, but it is definitely the big talking point of this list. Beyond Ashley's here, Frank is here, Sam's here, etc. It's like, wait a minute, like the reason it took me 3 days of sitting on the quote unquote final list to be like, are we sure this is the final list before I wanted to record this podcast, was like, wait, there's twice as many women as there are to men. Like, they've never done anything like this before. Are we sure that they're not gonna, are we just missing eight guys? Is half of these women alternates? Like, what's going on? But it seems to be that this is the cast. Pink Rose in Gamer Vev. Obviously, all casting news has come via them. Shout out to them as always, whoever they may be. And they've tried. They have said, they've basically just confirmed it as much as they could. This is who's there, and they've asked about anyone else they could possibly think of. They've checked everyone, and it seems to be this is it. So 2-1 women to men. I'm all for it. I'm all for trying a new format. If you stick to the format the whole season, I feel very differently if this turns into like the most convoluted switch, the format's always changing sort of thing. But if it's, hey, there's a format to this, it's something we've never done before, but we're going to do it, and we're going to do it the whole season, then I'm super duper interested in it. Back to the whole flagship versus all-stars thing. I would like to see something like this attempted on a flagship season more than I would an all-star season, because I would love to have had all-stars 1 and 2 be the vibe of all-stars for 5 or 6 seasons. But again, it's not. That ship sailed a long time ago, and it feels even more likely that all-stars is just kind of the new flagship series at this point. Like, who knows how many more flagship series we even get. I've referenced multiple times, but just in case you missed those references or are just not in the know, Paramount Global, or it's called like National Amusements or something, whatever, the head company that Mrs. Redstone, Sherry Redstone, owns, is in the acts of selling the entire company. What that will potentially mean for the networks like an MTV that's left, what it'll mean for Paramount Plus, what it'll mean for just every single thing that falls under the Paramount umbrella is completely going to be up in the air any day now, if the sale is expected to make a decision and be first round finalized over the summer. So who knows what the future of the series has in mind, but it seems like Buna Murray and the folks behind it maybe think All Stars is kind of just going to morph into the actual flagship, or at least the straight to streaming version of the show. And so, they're going to try crazy new stuff. I'm for trying crazy new stuff. And if it's got to be on All Stars, it's got to be on All Stars. So be it. Now, pending the format, the idea of 2-1 women to men is setting themselves up for, no pun intended, but a big challenge, because figuring out how to do a true mixed gender individual game or some form of unbalanced partner game seems like a huge degree of difficulty. And it also should go without saying that if this was reversed, if there's 2 men to 1 woman, there would be riots in the fandom and they would be deserved. This does feel similar to how the All-Stars forecast was clearly like, we're trying to get the best female cast we can here, and they're going to be the stars of the show. And that felt like a little bit of, maybe too little too late, but a little bit of like, hey, we never fully gave the women of this show the same treatment, the same chances to become stars, the same opportunity as the men. And so they're kind of making up for lost time a little bit. You could feel however you want to feel about that, but I do think that might be in the air. And so this being another version of that, of like, we just, a lot of these people didn't get the same opportunity their male counterparts did during these shows. So if we're going to try something funky and crazy, like a 2-to-1 ratio, we're obviously going to have 2-to-1 women to men. And I'm there. I'm all for it. Again, it just opens up. Who knows what this is going to entail? Who knows how the dailies, the eliminations, anything is going to work or what they're going to look like. But we have some ideas. Because the format and the theme, it was, I say quote unquote confirmed, but like it's confirmed as far as they can confirm it. Again, Pink Roses and Vevmo's gamer Vevs of the world via Vevmo discussion boards have confirmed this to be some kind of Rivals-esque season. They basically said confirmed Rivals, and then it's been speculated that, wait, the teams, though, where's the Rivals here? I'm kind of seeing trios more than duos, and it has been speculated on Reddit and social media and elsewhere a bunch of times. Maybe there's a frenemies type of situation here where instead of pairs, it would be trios. And shout out to Nova Rogue on Reddit, who was kind of leading keeping the cast list thread on Reddit updated, and then provided this potential theory on what teams could look like if there was a chance for a 3-person kind of frenemies-esque team scenario with the following teams: Sam, Frank, and Ashley. And with all of these, there's kind of the idea that like one person was at odds with someone and 2 people are kind of friends within the group. And some of them fit perfectly together and others don't. So like Sam, Frank, and Ashley, friend. Frank was the one, instigating all the stuff on Battle of the Season. So that makes sense. Ashley Mitchell, Shane, and Devon would be a trio. Melissa, Corey, and Big T, a trio after everything that went down on B-Fank. Fessy, Anissa, and Amber. Fessy famously talked shit about both of them as partners on Double Agents. Nicole, Sylvia, and Adam. That one's kind of one of the questions. Like Nicole and Sylvia had beef on Invasion. Would Nicole and Adam have some sort of beef that goes down that we haven't seen yet on All Stars 4? We don't know. Steve, Katie, and Beth. Kellyanne, Janae, and Devin. Kellyanne and Janae definitely, had their disputes on World Championships. The Devin part would be the question there. And then Nani, Veronica, and Leroy. Nani and Leroy, super tight, but have questioned allegiance in the past. And Veronica was a part of the vote on that was Dirty 30 to get the burn vote that led to Leroy actually going in. And so, yeah, some of those teams make perfect sense. Some of those don't. But yeah, let's stick with the trios for now, the idea of these trios. I have no idea how the challenges work, no idea how the eliminations would work. We've seen teams of 4 before, and we've seen big teams before. And the team of 4 on Battle of the Seasons is one of my favorite formats, though, but it would like 2 of you go into elimination, and then if 2 of you are left, there's a way to play the dailies in pairs. It made sense. This doesn't work, though, with trios. Could you have one person eliminated and like all the dailies are individuals? And so you can still just have 2 people competing versus 3. You could have 1 person competing versus 2 or 3. I don't know. But, the idea of a 3-person team and what they would do with it has me intrigued. The idea of 2 friends, 1 enemy in a team has me intrigued. And these trios, again, just make more sense, with only 2 of them that we really need kind of explanation for on the rest of All Stars 4 or season 40 to like fully make sense of why the 3rd person would be a part of this. If this was true, if these teams were true, let's just run with it for a second. It's fun. If they were true, Sam, Frank, Ashley, Shane, Devon, Melissa, Corey, Big T, Fessy, Anissa, Amber, Nicole, Sylvia, Adam, Steve, Katie, Beth, Kellyanne, Janae, Devin, Nani, Veronica, Leroy. If those were true, then these things would be true. 1, Ashley Mitchell, that is, Shane and Devon would be the fan favorites. Big time. Big time. That would be who everyone was rooting for sure. Sam, Frank, and Ashley would again be a really rewarding story arc if they were in fact a team again. Kellyanne, Janae, and Devin would be the heavy favorites to win because that team is just stacked. Leroy and Nani would definitely be doing everything they can to not talk shit about Veronica via confessional, but would both be really biting their tongues of like, damn it, she really is kind of, maybe we're not thrilled about her as a partner in this situation. And then Anissa and Amber getting to order Fessy around would be hilarious. And I think that all the Fessy haters would love getting to see that. I tried to see how would, if this was just rivals and it was pairs and they just didn't care about how many men or women, male team, women team, woman male, whatever. There just wasn't obvious. Wasn't enough obvious pairs for me to be like, I could see how they're going to make this work. So it did feel like trios because most of those teams did seem perfect to not be it. I tried to go through the rivals pairings and be like, okay, Sam and Frank for sure makes perfect sense. Veronica and Katie from way back when makes perfect sense. Corey with either Big T or Melissa, either one of them would make sense. Fessy with either Anissa or Amber would make sense for sure. Nicole with Sylvia or Shane would make sense. She had beef with both of them on Invasion. Kellyanne and Janae would make sense after World Championships. Maybe there's a world where Steve and Adam get into it over Stars at the end of All Stars 4, and that would make sense. I don't know. But then it's like Devin, I don't know who on this group he would be with. Ashley K, if like she isn't with Frank or Sam, then like who? Leroy, Nani, Devon. I just don't really know where they would end up on this list. I guess it was the Ashley Mitchell and Devin. Like, did Ashley and Devin have beef on Spies, Lies, and Allies or Double Agents that those two could be together? Beth, it just kind of stops making sense at the end. There's like 5 or 6. Like, yeah, those pairs really make sense for rivals, but all of them make more sense when you just add a third person to the equation and make those trio teams that I listed out. So I think it's trios, not pairs. And I think that opens it up for just complete and utter variance. So we'll close with this. A couple final thoughts. Ashley Mitchell being back is the most necessary, needed, fantastic news the world of the challenge could have gotten. Can't emphasize that enough. The return of Frank is right up there with Ashley. Can't emphasize how big of a deal that is for the world of the challenge and how great. There is no way it is anything but great that Frank is going to be on this show. Return of Devon to the challenge is so wonderful. Devon to the challenge is so wonderful. 8 men on the show, and 3 of those 8 are gay men. I know 3 gay men on one season isn't breaking records, but 3 out of 8 percentage-wise, it's kind of a big deal that they were like, okay, like we're going to at least get a little more representation for the gay guys here on this season. Again, 3 doesn't seem as like crazy, but 3 out of 8 is something. And then finally, this is the highest variability season that I can remember in a long time, maybe if ever, as far as going in what I feel like we could end up with. This could be one of the most fun seasons of all time. I see a path where that is the case. I also see a path where this season is a complete mess and debacle that doesn't make sense and that a lot of people hate, and it's kind of borderline garbage. I think both of those are true, or not true. Both of those are possible. I think the high end, this is amazing, is much more likely than this is all the way at the bottom, complete garbage. Ultimately, it's probably somewhere in the middle. I feel pretty good saying it's going to be on the better half of that spectrum of like, it's going to be good. It's just going to be really potentially convoluted and hard to make great because it is something they've never done and a completely new, different thing. They've never even tried anything like, but I'm definitely excited for it. I'm intrigued by it. I can't wait to get to see it. And hopefully we don't have to wait 1.5 years between filming and airing the way we did for All Stars 4. I don't think we're going to have to. There's no USA in the hopper. And so I think we're getting season 40 trailer soon, and we're going to get that right out, and they're going to have All Stars 5 right behind it. And they're just like, we're going to have a year calendar 15 to 18 months where it is All-Stars 4, season 40, All-Stars 5, and people are just, loving it, loving it, loving it. I think that's what they're going for, and I applaud it. Yeah. So with that, thanks for tuning in. If something dramatic changes, I will do a special little episode about it. Otherwise, All-Stars 4 coverage continues on Wednesdays. Season 40 coverage will start as soon as we get a trailer for that. And yeah, we can all start those prayer circles that we don't wait a year and a half for this All-Stars 5 season to air. But again, I do not think we'll have to. So thank you all for watching. Subscribe, DM me if you want to talk challenge. Otherwise, until we speak again, peace.